Yes, we are, Ann.
Okay. Hi, Deborah. Okay, so I'm going to call today's meeting to order. And do we have anybody for public comment?
Yes, I believe we do. Kate Darfler.
I'm just here to support Reggie as a EMC member, just here to watch what she's doing.
Thanks for joining us, Kate. We have next, we'll go on to changes to the agenda. We have two resolutions that I'd like to add to the agenda. Let's see, the first one is that was given to us from Barbara. It's support for New York State Legislature to establish an extended producer responsibility system for packaging and printed paper. Would someone like to move that to be added to the agenda? Deborah, and seconded by Amanda. So we're voting. Any discussion before we vote? Okay, so we're voting on adding that resolution into the agenda. Dave?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Deborah?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's unanimous. And then we have one other resolution I'd like to add into the agenda. This one, the name of it is urging the Public Service Commission to develop a white paper transition off of fossil fuels for heating. Would someone like to move that one? Deborah? Dave, second. Okay. We're going to vote on this one. Dave?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Deborah?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And I already said thank you to Brittany, but just for the record, I wanted to thank Brittany because I know we've had several changes with various things this week, and I really appreciate her patience and flexibility. Our legislative clerk, Brittany Crape. Let's see, the next, okay, so where are those going to go, you might ask? So the one for the resolution for the product, let me get the name again, for the extended producer responsibility, that one I'd like to put in with the Department of Recycling and Materials Management report. I'm imagining that'll go after information item A. And then the other one, does that sound right, Barb? Well, we'll see when we get there, but I think that's where that one's going to go. And then the other one for the PSC resolution, that will go after item number 9 on the agenda, which is the Environmental Management Council report. So that'll go after that and then before item number 10, which is another resolution. Okay, any other proposed changes to the agenda? All righty, that's enough apparently. Now we'll go to the minutes approval from April 26, 2021. Would someone like to move the minutes from that peak meeting? Amanda? Seconded by Deborah. Any additions or edits? I had one. Anybody else? Okay. And what it was the, let's see, on packet page 13, where we're talking about the forest resolution. just for the record, I wasn't sure, in the whereas at the top of the page, where it says whereas on February 12th, let's see, the third line, where it says which a pro-forestation policy, I didn't think that's what we had come to an agreement on, so I went back and watched the video. I know we changed it back and forth a couple of times. And I can send this to Brittany later, but this is what I recall that, well, this is what I saw when I watched the video is what we changed it to. The bracketed part was as the Caroline Town Board understands it as leaving forests intact to grow to their ecological potential. Does anybody remember something like that? Amanda?
I honestly have no idea what the vocabulary was or what. I'd have to go back and watch it. I do remember saying that it should be in brackets. So I would think the brackets are correct, but I mean, I don't know that I could vote on that because I don't remember what the specific words were.
Dan?
No, that's not my memory of how it happened. It was just simply the words itself, not according to the Caroline Town Board or whatever, because that is the definition of proforestation. So that's what my memory is of why it got inserted.
Okay, and then it was Deborah who said, as the Caroline, who suggested to put in, as the Caroline Town Board understands it.
You know, at this point with this particular resolution, I'm perfectly willing to just leave it the way it is in the minutes, Annie.
Okay. Dan,
Yes.
you're okay about leaving it?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, then we'll just leave it as it is. All right, are we ready to vote on the minutes? Amanda,
Yes.
Deborah,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
and I'm a yes, so that's unanimous on the minutes. All righty, we're going pretty smooth now. All right, that's how the whole
Don't
meeting.
jinx it, Annie.
Pardon me?
Don't jinx it.
Let's see. I'd also, I forgot to say this in changes to the agenda. I'd like to move my chair's report down after number 10, after that resolution and right before the committee members' reports, so that, you know, we can have that as more of a discussion if we have time. I was asked to, and I wanted to talk about why I removed the forest resolution from the last legislative meeting. So that will give us all time to do that and not make other people wait who are waiting here for different resolutions and reports. County Administrator's Report. I think we have Lisa here. Lisa, do you have any? Oh, and Amy. So do either of you have anything for us today?
I don't have anything. Amy, do you?
Today.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
Let's see, we're ahead of schedule. Next, we have Planning Sustainability Department. Do you have any reports or announcements, Katie? I know you have an announcement for
I don't know which one you're talking about, but with staffing.
Right.
Yeah. I've got a few things for you today. The first one is that next month we're going to be welcoming 2 new staff members. We've hired Terry Carroll to be the Chief Sustainability Officer starting on June 14th. Many of you know Terry, I believe, that since 2016, he's led the development and implementation of the hugely successful Clean Energy Communities program in the Southern Tier. So we're really excited for him to start. And even more close is June 1st, we're going to have Susan Landford joining our team. She's in the midst of moving from Georgia up to our area. So we're excited she'll be able to support our housing initiatives, which is great. So that's exciting. And then I've got a couple of water related items for you. The first one is that Scott Doyle was in touch recently with our FEMA Region 2 staff, and they have confirmed that they're progressing well with the countywide flood risk study. You may remember that FEMA started that process with our community in 2014 with discovery meetings. And so since that time, they've reviewed community identified concern areas, conducted field surveys, and modeled flood extents. They're now anticipating that they, maybe even in person, will be able to hold the flood risk review meeting in September 2021. At that point, they will review their draft products, and that includes our first ever digital flood insurance rate maps. So that should be interesting to see. It should be more accurate, detailed, and intuitive than the old paper maps, and include aspects such as water surface elevation grids for different flood events. So that will be very interesting to see. Just so you know, the progression after the September meeting, then they get feedback from the community and various stakeholders, and it takes about a year then to finalize the flood maps. And there's also an appeal and a comment period and educational opportunities. So a lot more to come on that, but just wanted to let you all know because that's a pretty important piece of the equation. The other big thing that we are trying to grapple with is this draft total maximum daily load for phosphorus in Cayuga Lake. Darby's leading our effort on that. And a staff for Department of Planning and Sustainability review and comments, we're focusing on how the TMDL could affect our conservation efforts and future development, as well as how we're going to be able to really use the document to work with local agencies and stakeholders with county funding and staff resources to really make it a living document that's really useful to everybody. We plan on completing our comments in mid-June and bringing those to Peak for you to hear about and consider whether you want to have your own comments as well for the June Peak meeting in advance of the July 8th comment deadline. So that's it from me.
So if we wanted to have our own comments, Katie, we'd have to figure out as a group what we'd want to do from that, or is that something you want, somebody else would put forward to us?
Yeah, I'm not sure how you all would want to handle that best. I know Water Resources Council is also diving into this, and they are really looking at the technical aspects of this. And so maybe they would bring you their comments as well in that time frame. I'm not sure. I think they would probably be able to do that as well. And then you could choose which ones of those comments make the most sense for the legislature to consider. In many ways, this is kind of like fracking in a way, because you've got a big complex document and people are looking at it from multiple different perspectives. And then I think you need to just pick and choose which aspects you would consider important enough for a legislature or a committee to provide comments on.
Deborah?
Yeah, Soil and Water is working on comments as well. And of course, their perspective is going to be considerably different from DPS's. And they're working in conjunction with the other soil and water districts around the lake and in the watershed. So, but that wasn't my comment. That's not why I raised my hand. I remember when we started talking about the possibility of co-locating the sheriff's department and the police department down behind recycling. And there were questions about how much of a flood risk there was on the property that was involved. And I remember at the time people saying, well, we don't have an updated flood map, so we're not sure. So this FEMA initiative that you spoke about, Katie, will that then lead to us having an updated flood map for the entire county?
Yes, when it's finalized, I guess roughly a year from September, then yeah, that would be in place for all the flood insurance policies and all the flood regulations. So it's potentially a big deal, and that's why I wanted to bring it to your attention. Again, the last time I've connected with this was, I think, 2019. I don't know if many of you were able to attend, but they had meetings at the library where they presented some initial findings.
Thank you.
I know a lot of people are talking about how this affects Ithaca and the flats, but this is for the whole county. Any other questions or comments for Katie? Thank you very much, Katie.
Great, thanks.
And congratulations. And I know you'll be busy with the new hires, and please welcome them for us, and we'll hope to see them soon.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you.
And so next up is Barbara and Nancy. And for their first information item starts on packet page 18.
Hi, everybody. It's good to be back. And I've actually got Nancy Webster, who's our waste reduction and recycling specialist, and Jeremy Betterly, who's our communications coordinator and also working on a grant to reduce food waste. We are bringing several items that have to do with what I call the waste reduction piece of our work. And these are going to this committee. So I go between the F&I committee and this committee, depending on the subject. So what we're going to do, and we told you we would be bringing you quarterly updates on certain activities that we're working on. The first item has to do with environmentally preferred procurement. Remember, you passed a policy with the legislature to move forward to advance the purchase of products that are made with more recyclable content or better for the environment. We're not going to get to services this year. We're going to probably have to adjust that resolution to include services in the future. Nancy Webster has been working hard since we last saw you. We did form the EPP team. We did issue a questionnaire to departments. Amanda has been joining us at every meeting, and it's been great. The team is very good. We've got a number of people from the county, and we are making progress on the first item, which has to do with the purchase of paper products. And we'll be talking to you about a pilot. And of course, Amanda, if there's anything you need to jump in to do. But I would say the group is really working well. And what we've really attempted to do in this first quarter with the questionnaire is really what I call engagement with the stakeholders, which are the department heads. So basically enlisting a positive way for them to contribute so that they get on board in a meaningful way. So why don't I turn this over to Nancy Webster, and she can update us on that item.
Yeah, thank you. So you can see on page 18, we've formed a team, and it's interdepartmental because all of our benchmarking showed that we want to have buy-in from various departments. And it turns out with what do we have? Almost 30 county departments. And so we have a lot of people doing purchasing or finding the specifications of items they need. And some are really specialized and some are much more general. So after doing that survey, we decided to start with office products as the first sector we're kind of tackling. So we're using some money from the waste reduction budget from our department to buy items that we can then give out to other departments to test out. So that's folders, 100% recycled office paper because we found that some departments were only using 30%, but that's like a really low hanging fruit for us. And then folders and pens, I think, are the other items. So we're getting those ordered. So we'll just have small amounts and give them out by.
Is there envelopes in there too?
Yes, envelopes. That's the other one. Thank you. Give them out for departments to try and, you know, make sure it fits their needs. And then the idea is departments can build those into their budgets for the future. You can also see the timeline on here. So after we hand out these items, we're going to follow up with departments and ask for feedback just to make sure things are going well. I don't expect there to be major issues because our department has been doing this for what, a decade more so?
Probably more like 2.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty easy to find products that work because we've been doing this the whole time. So just kind of spreading that out. But we'll get feedback and make sure it works for everybody. And we're here for assistance if anybody has questions. And then we're going to look at cleaning supplies, which will be mostly working with facilities, and go from there. And then I think we talked about we'll work on ITS or some other categories in the future, but we're kind of taking it piece by piece so that it feels manageable.
So what I really like that's going on here is, again, involving, Nancy's our coordinator. I'm the radical in the group that wants more yesterday. And what we're trying to do, and we've established, is a relationship within the stakeholders team of about 7 people. And what I'm really, really excited about is Nancy has developed with Joanne in finance doing the purchasing, and then we'll be adding the new purchasing person and the new county sustainability person. I like that relationship between the group and Joanne is going really well, because the truth is what we learned that's very important, and Amanda, I think you might want to speak to this as well, is that the purchasing is so decentralized. There's really no incentives to save money in large capacity for the EPP products or any products. And that happened a number of years ago, and I'm not judging that, but it is going to make it much harder for us to find the savings and, you know, really make the best out of what the opportunity is. Amanda, did you want to speak to anything that we've been doing?
Well, I was going to follow up on that. I think that was something that, you know, came up, that it really is harder when all the departments are doing different things and there's not that communication between, and it's there's less savings. So that was something that I think we're going to bring up in GO to talk about, what would it look like if we had a central purchasing, system or a person, or, so that's not quite on the schedule yet. I'm not sure exactly how we'll go there, but I think it is something that GO should talk about to look at the bigger picture of things. But no, I mean, I would and also the team has been great. I think we've kind of Lisa has been filling in, Lisa Holmes, but we're kind of waiting for the chief sustainability officer to jump in. And so having his perspective will be great as well.
Oh, did we hire somebody?
Yeah.
Yep. Katie was saying Terry from Cooperative Extension. Is that right?
Yeah.
Carol.
I was busy doing something else. I was reading our recycling brochure at the time.
Yeah. And when does he start, Katie? Maybe you said.
June 14th.
Okay.
Wonderful. So Nancy, you'll just need to get him on our list. So the foundation is really built for this. And right now we're doing little things. One of the things I'm going to be doing is also communicating with department heads as we can. We haven't been able to in the last 2 meetings because there's been other big projects that Jason wanted to attend to. But this is going to turn into a buy-in. I wanted to address the bans, the water bottles and the styrofoam. And what we've learned is there isn't an accurate record of who's buying these products that we want to ban. which is another issue that we're going to have to put our arms around and really figure out with the centralized possibility, how at least the centralized buying of EPP products is what I care about. And I will say, we're going to talk about the styrofoam ban in New York State. And in truth, just like the reusable bags not being a contaminant anymore in the recycling stream, by not having the ability for anybody to purchase styrofoam, that's going to alleviate the concerns with respect to the use of styrofoam. But we do have to really work on, other things. The other thing is, this is a goal that the EPP stakeholders group is going to work with Arel, and actually Alan from facilities is on the EPP team. So we're going to help the F&I committee and Arel meet some goals of buying those, what do they call, Nance?
The water filling stations?
Yeah. So we're really going to need to push those buttons with the facilities department. And I would say we haven't put it in our writing, but we're going to do that when we move over to the cleaning products in the fall, to really get that all in place and how it's going to be funded and, examples of our research. So that's pretty much the story. And we will have a lot more progress for you in the coming months. And we're going to figure out how to best engage department heads in helping us and helping, what we do. Our office is going to start to work on EPP as an add-on to the re-business partners with our businesses next year as well. So I think things are going good. What do you think on that one? Pretty good? Yeah, no complaints. Any questions on that?
Deborah?
Just a thank you to Barb and her team, and to Amanda, because you guys have really pushed this through. Just in the last 3.5 years that we've been working on this, you've made great progress. So
Well, I think that if it weren't for this body and the resolution and Amanda's work on the original resolution with respect to the ban, we may not have gotten here so fast. And it's really been a pleasure, Amanda. I mean, what I'm noticing is I'm getting to, hear your thoughts and ideas more directly than on the floor of the legislature. And I think that generally, if there's any opportunity in any of the work that's done on sustainability to engage, that kind of relationship, it really makes a big difference. So thank you. The next item we have here, can we move to the next one? Sorry.
I just had one quick question. When, after those items, I don't know if this is something that you're thinking down the road of items later, for instance, carpeting.
All of it.
Okay. It'll be in phases.
Well, there's so many other items that I would put in the other category. Now, I never thought that we would be done with this year, by the way. This is probably a 3-year project. And not only is there carpeting, but there's also like highway applications. One of the things that's happening at the state level, which is really needed, is the Office of General Services is going to be adding a lot more EPP products to being able to purchase those on state contract, which will make a difference. And so, for example, those cones that are used in highway applications, there's definitely products that we can switch to that have recycled content. There's so many products in other places that we benchmark that would be able to be used. But I think that right now, we've got the system in place. We're moving on, $1,500 of savings in our waste reduction budget for trials, get buy-in. Then we go to cleaning products with EPA attributes. Then we move on to ITS, and Greg's been involved. Then we move on to the other category, and we also have services. What we need to do is, it's not good enough for the county to be buying these products, but we need to look at service providers that are committed, and there may need to be some policy directed at, in procurement with the help of, the group, to making sure that we're hiring contractors that take into account and commit to certain products. I mean, if there's cleaning services, they're going to have to commit to the same products, et cetera, et cetera. I hope that gives you a kind of the framework for it.
That's great. Yeah, it does help give me more of the 30,000 view of it. I appreciate all the great work you guys are doing on this. So
And
thank
lots
you.
of things are changing and we can just take advantage of that. So it's really fun.
And do you want to do the resolution that's, related to that, the extended producer responsibility, or wait till after your
No,
report?
it's kind of a little bit related, but not so much.
Okay, so we'll do it after all three.
That's okay
reports.
with you, yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to providing you some simple information about what's going on in the state with the Styrofoam ban coming up early next year. Nance?
Yeah, let me.
Page 26, if you're following along in the coloring book, the agenda.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. So the good news about Styrofoam is that New York State is moving to a Styrofoam ban, which will start in 2022. So food establishments like restaurants, caterers, food trucks, retail stores, those kinds of places will no longer be able to distribute Styrofoam. So when you go to a restaurant, they won't be able to give you a Styrofoam clamshell. It'll need to be some other kind of container. This also will ban the loose Styrofoam, like the packing peanuts, which is great because this is going to lower contamination in the recycling stream. And Styrofoam is one of those materials that sticks around forever, so we don't want to send it to the landfill either. More information is coming out. I believe they just told us in June, so we will have more updates as we get them. But there's a couple links here if people want more specific information. But DEC is going to give us a lot of the educational tools and like more specifics about the exemptions, because there will be a couple exemptions, I think. And I think that's kind of it. We're kind of in the holding pattern for this one, but we imagine that we'll distribute a lot of information about it through the Rebusiness Partners program also.
And also Jeremy, as our communications and outreach person, is going to be developing as part of his 2022 communications plan. And we're already talking about this inclusion in our budget, how he wants to roll out what the state's going to provide. The state has a new recycle right entity with funding, and it's very strong to standardize recyclables and talk about what's allowed, what's not allowed. They have great educational materials. They're using the Syracuse University staff and students, and we will be able not to have to make everything up and cost a lot of money, and we'll be able to take advantage of those things. So we'll have a lot more to report in the fall on that. Are there any questions on Styrofoam for the moment?
I had one, but I'll wait and see if anybody else has anything. Okay, so the exemptions here for raw meat. So I'm a vegetarian, but I'm trying to imagine if there's like Styrofoam under like hamburger and stuff like that still. Okay.
Interestingly, there are alternatives. I mean, if you go into Trader Joe's, they are putting all their meat, based on the company, in I think it's number 2 plastic now. So, I mean, hopefully the industry is going to move more and more into those alternative recyclable materials.
So egg cartons, I understand, Styrofoam egg cartons. The one before that where it says prepackaged food sealed prior to receipt at restaurant or food service establishment. Can you give me an example of what that is?
So that would be, I think, similar to the like buying chicken breasts that are on a Styrofoam tray. Any kind of packaged food that comes on a Styrofoam, like cup of noodles. Like, obviously they're not stopping Cup of Noodles brand from using that Styrofoam cup.
We'll see about that.
Well, yeah, for now. Yeah. But certainly there's plenty of alternatives. And this will kind of highlight all of those.
And and then is there also, well, I guess it doesn't need to be an exception. It's just not mentioned here, but like say some organization that can still buy Styrofoam cups and clamshells to have at an event to serve food, like chicken barbecues and those things?
That's a good question. We don't have information on that yet, but I'll jot that down. And if DEC doesn't address that in their next round of information, I can check in with them.
Yeah, let's do that. That sounds great. That's a good question, but I don't think they'll be allowed. But anyway, we'll see.
All right, thank you.
Great questions.
Deborah?
Yeah, I guess I would have some concern about interstate commerce. You know, you can't pass a law that prohibits packaging that's legal in another state from being.
Yeah. That's going to factor in. And I think that, you know, we know the Roman numerals of this, and I'm glad you guys have asked your questions, because I think we have a few others, and I think there'll be an opportunity to get those questions answered. And I know about interstate commerce with recycling material and other things. So that's a really good question as well. But anyway.
Okay. All right, now we're up to the reusable
We
bag.
are, and we have two aspects of our report on that.
Okay.
Hopefully you
Page
like
28.
hopefully you like these little summaries, because that's how
do.
we work, and it makes things easier to ask questions about. So we are gonna, we'll talk first about the program that, you know, you guys adopted a resolution to charge 5 cents on paper bags. And of course, there's a ban on on plastic bags to encourage reusable bags. So what we want to do is give you an update on where the money's at, where the program's at. And, it was really hard during COVID for anything to move on this project, but Nancy has had some successes. We do look forward to more. It's a growing program. I mean, obviously the money will be less and less as more people buy reusable bags. But let's have her do that, and then see if you guys have any locations where you would like, for low-income people that can be qualified to access more bags. And we have some other things in the works there. And then Jeremy's going to give you an update on his exciting work with respect to to promoting reusable bags over paper bags. So we'll do that one pretty quickly.
Great. Yeah. So in accordance with the reusable bag law, we're using the money that we're receiving from that paper bag fee to get reusable bags and distribute them. You can see the breakdown of how we've spent the money on that page 28. And so far we've distributed to Loaves and Fishes, Ithaca Free Clinic, a little bit to the mutual aid cabinets. We've also now, since this update was made, so just in the month of May, we've distributed to a couple other food pantries. And actually I have a list of other food pantries that are kind of waiting as I made my calls. Once people got back to me, they're really excited to get these because there is such a need in the community. A lot of the pantries give out food to hundreds of families a week, and they use either boxes or plastic bags, kind of whatever they can get their hands on. So we're giving out these really good Chico bags. They fold into themselves. They're washable, durable. Because of the amount of money that we're having coming in from the bag fee, we actually have to do a bid. So that is going out on the street by the end of this week. And finance said that we should be able to open those bids June 17th. So then after that, we'll be able to order another supply of bags and keep getting those out to folks. Because we also have EPP in mind, we're going to be looking for the Chico bag, not Chico bag, sorry, the reusable bag that has recycled content as well. So this first round that we gave out didn't have that, but now we're wrapping that in also.
We didn't have much money at the time, and now we're going to practice what we preach. And Nancy, you're going to be, you've got a good chunk of money that came in. We're going to get a lot of bags. I'm also going to, I think when I get back from my vacation, we're going to work with Holly Payne, who is coordinating all the food pantries. So there's going to be a lot more growth here. Do you have any other, if you have any other places where you think we could distribute, I mean, you can send those to Nancy and make suggestions. She's keeping a spreadsheet on who's getting what, who's participating, And we're going to continue to enlarge that and continue to do this great work. We're getting so much positive feedback from this.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, definitely let me know your suggestions, because there are some agencies that are waiting for bags now that we're kind of in limbo. But also it's good to have on the record. There's not great guidance on how you enforce like giving them to low income. And so our idea was to partner with agencies that are already serving low income people. And so that's what we're tracking. We're not tracking like each individual taking a bag.
Right.
We're tracking, they're going to Catholic Charities, and you know, Catholic Charities is serving folks that are low income.
That we're looking for feedback on. Thanks for
Exactly.
And
Amanda, did you have something?
Yeah, well, I just was going to throw out there, I don't know if you've talked to Meals on Wheels.
Mhm.
Okay, great. And
Yeah,
then,
they just got 500 of them.
oh, wonderful. And
Yeah.
then the shelter, the St. John's shelter. I don't know if you've talked with them.
I believe they got some already, but I'll make sure. Yeah.
All right, well, you guys are on top of it.
Yeah.
And then I did have a question about your memo on page 28. The second paragraph, you talk about that you received 6,900 as of June 2020, and there are additional funds of approximately 24,000. Was that really $24,000?
well, it is. And here's what happened. We only got word from finance, and I think they had just gotten word in like this year that we had gotten that money, not last year.
Wow. Okay.
So, I mean, yeah, we're full of money for bags, and that's why we're issuing a bid. And again, I mean, keep the ideas coming. And, you know, whoever thought the recycling and materials management department was going to be in the business of helping low income with reusable bags, but you know, it's just part of what we do.
No, it's great. Thanks
Part
for
of the waste
doing
reduction
it.
component.
Mhm. And as we like budget and plan going forward, of course, like with 2020 was not a normal year. And I'm not exactly sure what normal will be like going forward, but I imagine that a lot of households were using more paper bags as they Instacart and, you know, take out. And I know there was some reservations on using reusables at the beginning of the pandemic. And then, you know, it's kind of been shown that that's fine. Just wash your bags as you normally would, wash your hands, all of that stuff. So hopefully it won't be quite so high. And as Barb said, as people adopt the behavior change, we'll see that number go down.
Why don't we, if it's okay, let's move to Jeremy so he can give an update on his reusable bag campaign.
Yeah, sure thing. Hi, everybody. Really excited about this campaign. So, you know, obviously we are doing the whole, you know, providing bags to low-income residents thing, but we also want to make sure that residents are opting to bring their reusable bags rather than simply switching from plastic to paper when the ban went into effect. We came up with a campaign slogan and overall message last year and worked with Flourish Design Studio to develop an ad. And I'm not sure if I can share my screen on this, but I just want to show that to you real quick. Can everybody see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so this is what we came up with. Save some green, bring your own bags. It connects the idea of saving a little bit of cash every time you bring your own bag rather than paying the 5 cents, and conserving trees and water. We are running this ad in the Ithaca Voice right now for the next 6 months on government stories, and also a few times in Tompkins Weekly. And we are also going to be providing these to TCAT to display in the buses, on the bus placards. We'll be using this on social media campaigns as well, which will use the boosting feature, just a little bit of funding to promote that content to a wider audience. There will also be a press release, and I'm expecting that we'll put that out sometime next month. That's going to contain information like save some green, bring your own bags, but also some ideas I'm thinking for how to sort of like best practices for remembering your bags and how to make sure that you're keeping them clean and using them responsibly. So ideas like having a cloth bag so that you can throw it in the wash rather than a like a more rigid plasticky kind of bag that can't go.
We are fans of the kind of bag we've been giving out, aren't we? At those were Chico's, but we'll see with the bid. And we'll try to get those bags available in stores. I mean, some stores already carry them.
Yeah, and those tuck and fold designs, definitely recommend those. And that's pretty much the plan. It'll be ongoing after that. We'll just always be encouraging people to use reusable bags.
So what you're saying is it's not just going to be a one-time campaign. It's going to be part of the messaging that we regularly do.
Yeah, that's right.
Any questions?
Deborah?
Yes, if you have memes or posters or stuff that we can put on our social media pages, be sure to all of us so that we can help you.
That would be great. We have that same graphic in the correct dimensions for social media posting. So I can either send that directly to you, or you can share the Recycle Tompkins posts once they go live. That would be really helpful because that definitely helps us reach more people.
Thanks.
Oh, wow. So, I mean, that could be done even on a broader basis with people that are our friends.
Yep.
Right. I had a couple of questions. One, as far as places to distribute them, have you talked to Department of Social Services?
Oh, yes.
Okay. And I'm glad to hear that you're looking at possibly getting, I love the Chico bags. Those outlasted my Green Star bags that I bought, that have more duct tape on them than bag now. So I like the Chico, but they don't have the flat. I don't use them as much because they don't have the flat bottom. So I'm glad you're looking at, possibly getting some flat bottom ones.
No, actually, the spec that we have mimics the Chico bag, if I'm not mistaken. We would continue to supply those to low income because the durability of those bags lasts way longer than the other kind. And we really need to be concerned with durability and recyclability. Right. Yeah.
So I would just, as far as just my input, it would be good to get input then, from the community, what they think. For me, if I put it in the car, that Chico bag, I tie it, I try and hook it somewhere, but it just things roll all over. So it's not
interesting,
but it's nice to be able to stick it in my pocket to always have with me. Let's see, are you able to use any of the money that you're getting for the bags now that you've had like 24,000, for instance? Are you able to use any of that for the campaign, or is that just for buying bags?
Only the bags.
Only buying, okay.
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah. I wish too, but yeah.
And then I had a question that's somebody watching the meeting sent to me. They wanted to know about, which I agree with, for the ads, about having, suggesting more diversity rather than just a light-skinned person.
That actually isn't a light-skinned person, just so you know. But I think what we can do if we want to spend the money is we can create different images if we want to. That's okay. It'll just, we can change the images, just so you know.
Okay, great.
Okay.
That's all the questions I had. Thank you.
All good.
Thank you for all that.
I don't think of it all, but you guys help us with the rest.
Thank you for all the work and the great summaries.
Yeah, these guys are amazing. I'm demanding and they're amazing. I think I'd rather
They are.
All right.
And you ready for the resolution?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I would like to speak for about a minute.
Okay, would someone like to put that on the floor first? This is the resolution, support for New York State Legislature to establish an extended producer responsibility system for packaging and printer paper. Someone like to move that? Amanda and Deborah seconds. Okay, and Barbara, would you like to tell us about this?
Yes, it's always a difficult decision for me as to whether or not I should bring things forward that are really progressive and proactive as it relates to the movement in recycling and waste reduction to the legislature. And I thought really hard about it and I decided to do it. And because this resolution will greatly alter for many years to come if this legislation passes in New York State, the solution to more successful, consistent, and less expensive recycling in this country. What I'm hoping, and there are, as I said in my email when I was responding to Mike, which some of you saw, there are a number of states that are, of course, moving in this direction. And I do know that it is going to be a federal agenda item as well. And, you know, with the infrastructure bill, there's going to be an opportunity for the technology to be improved. But what's happened over the years, in the 35 years I've been here, is that we have seen such terrible circumstances in what this is costing, the fact that municipalities here are sharing the brunt of this with the community, that recyclability of products has not been moving forward as we would like. Plastic has become an incredible pollutant, and there's just the climate impacts. And what really is going to happen here are the experts like Procter & Gamble and like the other ones. There's so many in Canada. And I went to a conference over a decade ago in Canada when they were launching in, EPR. And I listened to Scott Kelles, who is the National Product Stewardship Director, speak there to a welcoming audience, of course. And every single region has adopted different forms of EPR. I feel very encouraged in New York State by some of the recent legislation that has passed, including the bag ban, the styrofoam ban, now the food scrap ban coming up, and a number of other initiatives. And I feel like the time is right for us to have a voice in what we want to see. Standardization of programs, standardization of costs, and just so many things. We got to experience a terrible process in terms of what the private sector offered. We had one proposal that was very, very difficult to negotiate. We're not happy paying $145 a ton for recycling, regardless of what the material is called. And really, the packaging industry needs to take leadership in organizing a program whereby it's more successful, there's better opportunity for recyclability, and get rid of all this trash that really can be changed. And to your point about the connection to the environmental product procurement, there's a definite relationship, because in the end, we are trying to purchase products made out of reusable materials and recyclable materials. And if that is not possible and they are not being manufactured, we're stuck. So I am fully supportive of seeing some action at the state. We've been working with Anna Kelles's office. We've been working with Todd Kaminsky, and also I'm on the New York Product Stewardship Council. This isn't a bipartisan, I mean, this is a bipartisan issue. It's not a partisan issue at all.
I think so too. And it was amazing to hear, years ago that other countries were doing this and that, we're behind, way behind, 20, 30 years behind other countries on this. So it's definitely time. Any questions or comments on the resolution?
I do have one other important point. What could happen here, very conceivably, is if this occurs and the PRO is established within the next 2 years and a lot of things are put in place, it will affect our contract. And it will allow not to wait till the end of that contract period, but there will be positive changes before that.
And I just noticed looking at it now, I'm sorry, I didn't notice this before, Barb, you often in the end of a resolution, we put who to send it to. I guess we could also just send it to people without it being in the resolution. If you want to send it.
And I apologize for missing that. It's not my area of expertise, but I should have remembered.
Mm-hmm.
Anna would appreciate it, and so would our senator. Yeah.
How about you other folks who have written other resolutions? Should we include it? Should we spend time to figure out who and put it in and do it now during the meeting, or can we just figure out who to send it to and then just send it to them?
Annie?
Yep.
We could make an amendment on the floor if you'd want. We can just add a paragraph. We can figure out which committee chairs to send it to. We'd want to send it to, our 3 senators and certainly Anna and probably, like I said, the committee chairs. So we can add that on the floor. I don't mind doing that.
I'll also tell you that there's a strong lobbying movement by the recycling companies that are actually getting these fees against this.
Of course.
Of course. Okay, so it sounds like Deborah's willing to take that on and add it as an amendment when it goes to the legislature floor, right? Okay, great. That'll save us time today. That's great. Thank you, Deborah. Barbara.
So I'm going on vacation, and
Who said you could do that?
Deborah, you and I need to meet in Colorado someday with our children. So that's all I can say. But what I wanted to ask you is, I'm assuming, Kathy, that this would go to the first legislative meeting?
June 1st, correct.
I don't know. I think I can participate from afar. And I will try to. Okay.
Okay, great. I certainly don't mind if we have our next meeting in Colorado, we could all do remote from there. But we could talk about that at the end of the meeting. I don't want to hold you up.
Okay, I just wanted to let you know where.
What part of Colorado?
Our kids live in the same town.
No, not anymore. She lives in Lakewood.
Oh, la la.
She still owns in Louisville. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you guys very much for your time.
Hold on. Now we're just going to vote on it if you want to wait and see if that passes. The drum roll, please. Okay, so we're going to vote on that resolution. Dave.
Yes.
Amanda.
Yes.
Dan.
Yes.
Deborah.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So it did pass unanimously. Thank you very much for bringing this to us. And thank you, Jeremy and Nancy, for your reports and all the great work you're doing. You are truly great, whether it was yourself that was great or Barbara made you great, or you're all great together.
Thank you. Thanks for all your support.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Let's see, what's next on our agenda? Great, we're 5 minutes ahead of time. So we're ready for Kate and Reggie for the Environmental Management Council, their annual report.
Great. Well, we're halfway through the year almost, and it seems like so. But that's okay. It took us a while to get this report written. We're glad to be here, and thanks, Kate, for being here too. And yeah, pipe up whenever you want to. So you know, you've heard everybody talk about what a crazy year it was, and it certainly was for all of us. And you know, as I am dealing with some issues now, I realize that there are things about the whole pandemic process that really did set everybody back, even maybe more than we thought so at the time. And I think other people are realizing this as well. And that's, you know, just what we're dealing with. And it's nothing we can't overcome, but it is real. But I think all in all, we got a lot of support from staff, and we were able to come back and have our virtual meetings. And the UNA was communicating by email, unique natural areas, small committee, and they have some very specific tasks, and they were able to handle those by email. The other two committees, climate adaptation and the waste reduction committee, did continue to meet virtually once we got rolling. It took us a while to figure out how to do that, but we had good support from staff. And I want to emphasize that. So both Darby and Kristen helped us figure out how we could cooperate and work together on this and get everybody involved in the program. So let me talk about some of the specifics. I guess I'll begin with climate adaptation, because I was chairing that at the time. We still have our brochure, which you may recall from last year, and we're handing that out. And if you would like one, I can get you one. But that was about slowing the flow of water to the lake, which many people are working on. It's in this case, we tried to speak to people who were gardeners to get them to understand that they could slow down their rainwater flow, which has become an important issue for people, by gardening. So two things in one action. So you could both produce more pollinator habitat and habitat for birds and so forth, while you're slowing the water to the lake and cleaning it. So that brochure is still available, and we continue to hand that out. And as a matter of fact, we got 600, I think, out last year, which was amazing. So, but that group continues to work. They're presently working on conversations about, with Scott Doyle, about the flood management issues. So, so that took the fall and is moving into, summer now, working with Scott, one of the many groups that's giving feedback on those plans. Maybe now would be a time to comment about outreach and communications. We had a really excellent panel on environmental justice and the disproportionate impact of the bad things on marginalized people or people of lower classes or what have you. That was useful for all of us, and we're trying to keep issues of race and inequality in the forefront as we interface with the community. The other thing I want to mention is that our idea of a roundup, which coming from the West is very appealing. And that's Kate's handiwork. And I wonder, Kate, if you want to say anything about that. That's a sweeper. It's actually really good.
Well, so we were trying to find a way that the EMC could not just kind of work in our own little siloed place where we only talk to ourselves and we only talk to you guys periodically, but really understand what's going on in the community. And so idea was, how could the EMC be pulling in information from all the different municipalities, nonprofits, small groups, organizations, gardening clubs, and any events or notable items could be kind of put together. And so we kind of started piloting it last year. And then everything went Zoom. So everyone was able to attend everything. And so I basically, made a dummy email list, and I subscribed to all the newsletters for all the groups I could find. And I'd spend about every 2 weeks, I go through it all and I look on Facebook and I check everything and I build a little calendar of events and a few notable items. I check the DEC, the Environmental Notices Bulletin, because that was something that Brian used to religiously check to make sure there was nothing in our county that we were missing. And I put it all in there. And if there was discharge alerts, I get those and I just stick it all in there and send it out to an email list. And so a plea I would have for you guys and for the legislator is, I know that in the communications and planning, they're working on trying to find a way to potentially do listservs through the county. So you could sign up for, I want to get things about planning or the environment or whatever. And the information that I have would be really great. I've had lots of people who always say, can you email it to me too? And I'm like, yeah, but it's just me holding all those email addresses rather than it being a workflow that then also could be passed off to someone else should I not want to do it forever. So I would love to, see that, but that's been really great. And for anyone who wants to be on it, I can add you to the list because it comes out every 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's being very helpful. Any questions or comments? Yeah, okay. Yeah, and thanks to Kate for coming up with this idea and implementing it, and now we're all benefiting from it. So Unique Natural Areas did what they always do, which is look at parcels subject to foreclosure and sort through those to see which ones might be especially important, if any. And they also, I think, weighed in on the Dryden Lake Dam removal question, which as a birder, I heard a lot about. So if you were a birder, you would know about Dryden Lake. And if you thought about losing Dryden Lake, you would have a lot of feelings about that. But in any case, so UNA weighed in on that. Our Zero Waste Committee, I feel now like it's like a baby Zero Waste Committee now that I've listened to Barbara Ekstrom. But of course, and that's wonderful. And her guidance is important to us. And I think one of the things we're trying to do is align our actions with the rest of the county's actions. It's taking a little doing. We had some change in membership and so forth. But, onward we go and we're realigning. And really, one of the most important issues that's before us now is this question of waste. We have a committee that's active. Right now, they're moving in several directions. Maybe we need to move maybe in one or two directions. But we have succeeded in distributing these reusable bags and flyers, though I see that it's being dwarfed by what's happening now, which is a good thing. And there's a fair amount of research going on in that committee as well. So we're finding our footing and moving forward. So I feel like people have bounced back reasonably well from our year of change, and now we're trying to find our way forward. Kate, anything else you want to add?
My only last thing is that I believe the EMC in Tompkins County was created in May 10th of 1971. So we are at our 40th year as an EMC in Tompkins County. And to celebrate appropriately, I think we're hoping to do some sort of our normal yearly public outreach and to do something about the histories of EMC and then something topical. So look forward to that in the fall is my guess.
Right. Thanks, Kate. And I should give credit to, we had a number of outreach events, and again, they should be in our report, and I feel like those were successful. So any questions or comments from anybody?
I wonder, Amanda?
Yeah, I was just gonna say thank you for all this information, and I still get emails, from the the waste reduction team, because I participated with them for several years, and I'm really glad to see that they're going even stronger than when I was involved, and working on podcasts and recordings, and it's great to see that folks are still working on those things. So, and I get Kate's listserv stuff. And that is in the works. And we did recently approve some funds for going forward for the county communications director to have this new software to develop a new program where people can pick and choose what they're interested in. So at some point we will have that and people could sign up for EMC updates, so
Great,
it's coming eventually.
great. Thank you.
Thanks. And Kate, you mentioned about people could contact you if they're wanting that information. I must say that just for me, when someone used the word roundup, that's, it just had this visceral reaction. But
I could see that, it's, we've been calling it, it's like the listserv, the digest, the community roundup, where, still workshopping a few names. So if you've got ideas.
Reclaiming that, I like that. And being from the Midwest, people have, as Reggie said, they have something different that comes to their mind. Do you want people to contact you like from this group, or do you want some contact info in the minutes for the
minutes would be great. And I'd actually prefer they send it to the email address I've set up for this account essentially. And it's Tompkins County Environmental @gmail.com.
You want to just
and
type
I can
that
put
in
it.
the chat
I can put that in the chat as well. And then it's all kind of housed there. And if for any reason I needed to pass off, all I have to do is give this email address password to someone else, and then they can access it, because I really wanted it to be decentralized from me.
That's great. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you very much for the report. I'm sorry that we didn't have time for you last meeting. Okay, I see Kate has it in the Tompkins County Environmental @gmail.com. All right, thank you for sharing that. And thank you for all the work you guys are doing. And one thing I was gonna say, you said about like, I think you mentioned something about like, we'll say, would you be able to have some way to have this, information, for instance, so somebody could find it, of how to get onto these listservs. And so maybe this year, as we're settling down from the pandemic, I would, but maybe put it on your goals for next year to bring it up. And if when we hopefully will have more time to deal with other things, that I could see maybe, since we do have revamped our website, that could be a question of, could we provide various links from our advisory, boards for different information? I know we want to streamline the advisory board information that we do have right now. So thank you very much.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, up next, we have a resolution. Let's see, I'll get the name of this one. And so this one is called urging, how it was sent, I sent it to you, was urging the Public Service Commission to develop a white paper to transition off of fossil fuels for heating. Now, what I'd like to do is, there's a couple of changes to this, minor, but it's a change in the title and a couple other things. So I'd like to, before we put it on the floor, I'd like to share my screen and show you the changes, rather than voting for each of these changes as amendments. If we could just do a substitution with this one, and I highlighted them. So let me share my screen and show you first. I've never shared my screen in a meeting, so be patient with me. Oh, now you get to see all this stuff I have open. Here we go. And can you see anything? Now I've lost your screen.
Yes, we can see it, Ann.
Okay. All right, yeah, this is strange that I can't see it on the Zoom thing. But anyway, so am I at the top?
Yes.
All right, so the one change with talking to Irene, well, I'll let Irene, if it's okay, talk a little bit about why she brought this forth to us from the case board to begin with.
Annie, do you need to move it onto the floor first? And
Well, that's what I wasn't sure, because I was thinking about these changes that I have here. Doing a substitute resolution, or we could take all of these changes together as one amendment?
yeah, they look pretty innocuous. If one's friendly, they're probably all going to be friendly.
Yeah, they're just changing some abbreviations and a little bit of the wording and, okay. All right, why don't we put it on the floor first then?
I will move it.
Okay, Deborah moves it. I don't know why I can't see everybody else. Okay. Do we have someone that would like to second it?
I'll second it, Ann.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, so that's on the floor. Irene, would you like to talk a little bit about it?
Sure. Yeah. So hi, everyone. It's nice to see faces. So this is sort of the next step in a process that the Public Service Commission set into motion a little over a year ago. They started something called the gas planning proceeding, which the intent of which everybody who read the order initiating the proceeding thought that the Public Service Commission was actually going to come up with a plan for how to get us off gas. And they didn't do that. And it was really shocking and distressing. And they didn't do that in the face of over 200 elected officials signing on to letters that, basically said, here's what we need from you, Public Service Commission. And it was signed by over 200 elected officials and nearly 200 environmental organizations from around the state. There were multiple parties in this gas planning proceeding, including the Environmental Defense Fund, NRDC, big players in the environmental field, who are all giving pre-input as to here's how to do this, to guide the state and give input as to how can we go about getting off gas in a way that doesn't crash the system, ensures reliability, still protects low and moderate income folks, and yet moves us in the direction we need to go. And it was just sort of stunning the extent to which the Department of Public Service staff really dropped the ball on the white paper that they issued. And so this is now a resolution that was passed by our Climate and Sustainable Energy Advisory Board. And we sent it in as that advisory board sent it into the Public Service Commission. But we'd love to see not only Tompkins County, but after you guys pass it, hopefully other municipalities and counties will as well, to tell the Public Service Commission that they really need to pull their act together and give us clear guidance and give the utilities clear guidance as to stopping the expansion of gas and setting targets for getting off of gas, planning for strategic retirement so that, again, so that we don't crash the systems, that we don't leave tons of stranded assets. And so anyhow, that's kind of the context and what this resolution asks for them to do. The whereas is mostly, scold them for not doing the job that we wanted, and the resolved asks for all the things that we had asked for initially. And I know that several of you had signed on to the letter from elected officials saying, here's what we need you to do. So anyhow, the whereas is scold them, saying you dropped the ball, and the resolved say, here's the ball again, please do the right thing this time.
Thanks, Irene. And do you want to talk about the changes to the title?
Yeah, these are tweaky little changes. I thought it should have the words Tompkins County Resolution right at the front because, you know, it won't get, hopefully it won't get quite as lost in the morass of you know, the canned messages kind of public comments that they get. And maybe will even show up on the main docket for parties to review. So I just, you know, little tweaky things. Dan, thank you for picking up on some of the shorthand that should have been written out in full language, and adding, you know, things like PSC stands for Public Service Commission and that sort of thing. They were really, as Deborah noted, I think overall very minor changes. Down at the end, there was, you know, a little confusion in the way it was worded. It is actually John Howard, who is the interim chair. And I think in the copy that you guys got, it made it look like Diane Berman was the interim chair. So just really, really little things that got changed. The order of the Assembly and Senate members, that the leaders were put before the underlings, that sort of thing, but really nothing major here. Nothing substantive got changed.
Those are friendly to me.
And Amanda, were you, or no, Dave, you're the one that seconded it? Dave, are these changes friendly to you? I think you said yes. And
Yes. I'm
Dan
sorry.
and Amanda, are they okay with you?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and so I'll send that to Brittany. Any questions or comments? Now I'm seeing when people say they're sharing their screen, they can't see people putting their hands up. There is no way for me to see if people are putting their hands up virtually. So if you could put it up for real. Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, thanks. I'm gonna, well, first of all, thank you for changing the title because I was gonna change that. It didn't, there was no verb. So thank you for adding a verb. And I'm gonna just say this maybe somewhat unpopular opinion, but I said the same thing last week at HHS about these resolutions that urge somebody, the state, to do something. And, you know, we have 4 of them today, and this one is particularly long. You know, I don't think that many people are going to read it. I think the title is the most important part. And I think my perspective is that we have to be a little bit judicious in how many of these we send. And I think we've been sending a lot lately. So I support the idea. I support the other ones today, but it does feel a little bit, I don't know, excessive or less important to me, but that's just my opinion. Thanks.
Deborah?
In response to what Amanda said, I think we hit this point every year around this time because the legislature is doing a bunch of cleanup stuff and there's important stuff that we really want to support. I mean, I appreciate the fact that we send a lot of these and we don't necessarily know whether anybody's paying attention, but I think it's important that we weigh in on stuff that really matters to us. This is something that I think is extremely important because, I mean, honestly, it's not like the PSC just decided one day that maybe we ought to reconsider how we plan for gas. I pretty much think that they don't have a choice here because of the CLCPA greenhouse gas emissions reduction goals. You know, if we don't plan for that, and if the utilities don't have a plan for that, what's going to happen is we're going to end up, you know, at the 11th hour with the utilities going, oh my God, we can't meet these goals. I don't particularly want to give them an excuse to do that. And this white paper to me is kind of a whitewash of what the utilities need to be doing in order to meet those goals so that we can all meet those goals. And the climate thing is really urgent. So I fully support this.
Any other comments or questions? I also support this, and I do say that, yes, at this time of year, we get a lot more resolutions, especially to the state Senate Assembly, and at this, not necessarily to the PSC, but because the Senate and Assembly are getting ready to go on summer break soon. So this is why we wanted to get this into sooner. I was hoping, I had high hopes, as I tend to do at times, that we wouldn't have to, and by we I mean mostly Irene and other people, wouldn't have to dog the state and, you know, to do what they said they were going to do, but apparently we do, and I'm glad there's people like Irene that are watching, you know, what's going on with the state and the PSC, because I mean, this is huge oversight. I don't want to say oversight, but missing the mark quite a bit. So I'm glad to support this resolution. I'm glad you and through the case board has brought this to us. And the case board passed a similar resolution or a similar statement, right, Irene?
Yes, we did.
Okay. All right, if we're ready to vote on this, Dave,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Deborah,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
and I'm a yes, so that's unanimous. Thank you very much, Irene.
Yeah, thank you all very much. And Deborah, thanks for your comments. I think it's exactly right. We are gonna just watch the utilities drag their feet for as long as possible. And it's gonna be a real crisis if there's not good planning that goes in ahead of time. So thank you.
You're welcome to stay. We're having a resolution on Bitcoin coming up next.
Yeah, which I'll just let you know I fully support, and I'm so appreciative of Anna stepping in on.
So thank you. So the next resolution is.
Dan, excuse me, can you stop sharing your screen?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
There we go. The next resolution is in support of New York State Assembly Bill A07389 and Senate Bill S06486, establishing a moratorium on the operation of cryptocurrency mining centers. Would someone like to move this one? Amanda? Deborah? Okay, so.
Go team.
Go team. Your arm's getting tired?
Yeah.
Okay. What this one is about in general is that for folks that might not know, what is happening is there are different across the state and across the nation, there are different energy producing centers that are either, mostly what's happening is they're being, rather than being closed down, for instance, it might be a coal burning power plant, rather than being closed down, it's being repurposed often with electricity to be used just for data mining. And actually Irene knows a lot more about this, so I'll let her chime in if she wants to. But so what this, and these centers use massive amounts of energy, and there is a separate bill that is asking them, these data mining centers that are mining cryptocurrency to use renewable energy, which personally I don't support. I want them just to not use this massive amounts of our energy for this, whether they use renewable energy or not. I want the resources, I mean, we have to manufacture all the different components that go in, as you know, that go into renewable energy, the infrastructure of the lines, all the different materials that go into this. Anyway, so I'd want us to focus on using those resources for heating our homes, running businesses, electrifying our cars, not to be mining cryptocurrency. Is there anything else anybody wants to add about this? Deborah?
Yeah, just that I've been reading in Forbes and some other, just sort of like the broad headlines that I've been seeing in economic news, that the Bitcoin market is really falling, and the financial experts have suggested that it will be the first market bubble to pop and crash. So with luck, this will no longer be an issue, but in the meantime, we need to, we need to address this issue.
Yeah, it's going to continue to vacillate wildly. I don't think it's going to pop. Whether Bitcoin, which is so I want to give a quick analogy. You guys remember back in, like, I don't know, the late 80s or early 1990s, the Hummer, which was an absolutely abhorrent gas guzzling SUV.
The Humvee was the national vehicle of the Republic of Texas.
Right, like it got like 4 miles to the gallon.
Yeah. So Bitcoin is sort of like the Hummer. It's the worst of the worst of the worst, most energy hogging cryptocurrency around. But Bitcoin is just one type of cryptocurrency, just like SUVs are just like Hummers are just one type of SUVs. And so there are different brands of cryptocurrency, some of which are less energy intensive, some of which are more. And what Anna's bill proposes to do is just hit the brakes and say, we need to understand a lot more about the energy consumption of these, how many of them are energy hogs, how much of it is going on in New York State. Can we provide the energy that they need? If we don't do it here, are they going to go somewhere else? And, just use dirty energy somewhere else. New York State certainly has an interest in wanting to stay as the finance capital of the world. So I think there's a real balancing act that the state is going to undertake if they pass this. And so I fully support it, because I think it does what any good moratorium does, is it hits pause so that a whole range of questions can be addressed. And so anyhow, that I don't know if that was a helpful analogy and a little bit more information, but whether or not Bitcoin goes away, there are other cryptocurrencies. The state is actually, and so just to even draw a little bit bigger, the Venn diagram. So Bitcoin is like the Hummer, then there's cryptocurrencies. Then the next circle out, sort of like SUVs are one kind of vehicle, cryptocurrency is one kind of something called blockchain. And there are many different uses for blockchain, everything from really exciting stuff like being able to do online voting and verify that it was really you while still keeping your vote confidential, to right now the state has just commissioned with IBM to use a blockchain technology to verify your COVID vaccination status or your COVID test status. So there are and banks are already using certain kinds of crypto and blockchain. So overall, it's not going away. It's growing. It will continue to grow. It offers a lot of really important advances in a lot of areas, and it's overall a very good thing. Although Bitcoin is crazy, And so this is intended to hit pause, to look more closely and to just kind of regroup as to how is the state going to manage this. So I think it's a really nice bill and I support it. And I encourage you to as well.
And you're muted.
Thank you. I forgot to mention when Kate and Reggie were here, but this is the resolution that they passed also from the Environmental Management Council. Very similar one. And as Irene said, it doesn't stop it. Kind of what I was saying was actually more than what this resolution is going to do of what I would like. But this does puts a pause on it. I think it's a 3-month pause. And it asks them to look at
It's 3 years, Annie, not 3 months, 3 years.
So does it say 3 years, did you say?
Yeah, it's 3 years, not 3 months.
Okay, 3 years. Thank you. And my computer glasses are different than my paper reading glasses. So I need about 5 pairs of glasses nowadays. Right, and it asks for them to do a full environmental impact statement too. Any other questions, discussions on this? Seeing none, let's take a vote on this. Dan?
Yes.
Deborah?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, so that passes unanimously. Woohoo, we got through all our resolutions, everybody. Thank you, Irene, for your help with these.
Happy to do it. Thank you guys for the support.
Okay. Up next is we have a chair's report and then committee members' reports. I know last month we didn't have a lot of time by the time we got to committee member reports. So if there is anything that hasn't been covered from any of your liaison committees, you're welcome to talk about that or anything else. For my chair's report, let's see if I can find it. I went to a National Association of Counties meeting, and I'm not sure if I can find the notes here, but anyway, there was, it was some of the stuff that people are already hearing about, you know, that the federal government is going to be putting out, you know, 55 million for this, for infrastructure, and a certain number of million for different things. But some of the things that I noted as far as infrastructure had to do with getting rid of replacing any pipes, water pipes that have lead in them. There is also some money for some sewer systems. So even for smaller municipalities. So I'm hoping, you know, we can, our local municipalities can take advantage of some of that. What I would, this is just in broad strokes they're doing now, but I'm just thinking, like, for me, I'm just thinking it would be great if some of that money could be available to expand infrastructure, because what happens when you get into something like the development at INHS is planning to do in Trumansburg, that they have to, part of the big expenses, bringing in water and sewer into those programs, and municipalities don't have the money to spend to do that. And so how does more affordable planned housing happen? So that was just one thing I wanted to report on. And then also at the last committee meeting for peak, we passed the resolution on regarding the forest. And so what had happened, so why I pulled that from that meeting is what happened was that I was hearing more and more of how our resolution was not going along with and meshing with all the work that the county had put into this, our planning department and our advisory board, it was just getting further and further from that. And especially with the new resolutions that Dan was going to ask for, or the new amendments to the resolution that Dan was going to ask for at the night of the legislature meeting, including taking out the reference to the softwood pine plantations. So I decided that that was getting further and further, and it was at that point a disservice. Either we needed to regroup, and at this point, I would like to have it be not on the agenda for this year. I think we've spent enough time on it. I had only agreed to have it on the agenda myself because we were going to not spend, it wasn't going to take up a lot of time, but it's taken up a lot of time for some of us and for the committee. Last time, I think we spent 35 or 40 minutes on this. And I think I would not have liked to have seen it pass or have it pass with those amendments. I think that's a disservice to, like I said, our advisory committee and our planning department. Any comments or questions? Amanda?
Sure, I'll bite. I think it was pretty inappropriate for you to pull it from the ledge because you didn't like it. And to state publicly that we were taking it back to committee and then actually not bring it back to committee. That was I'm not sure what the word is, but not a very trustworthy course of action. And then my last thought just would be, we do things all the time. We amend resolutions, we change resolutions, regardless of what the advisory boards say or do, we have the right to make changes, all of us. And just because you don't like those changes, it's a little bit childish almost to pull something. So I was really disappointed that you did that, Annie. Whatever, going forward, you're the chair. You can decide what you want to have on the agenda or not. But I would just, again, reinforce that just because maybe the planning department didn't like it or the advisory board didn't like it, doesn't mean we don't do this job to please those people. We do it because we face hard things and we make strong decisions and we have the right to do those things. So I'll stop there.
Thank you, Amanda. I don't appreciate being called, that my actions were childish. I understand if you have an issue with trust, but there was more that was going on. I had asked for anybody that was going to make amendments to it to give us I thought it was the respect to give us those, to send them to the full legislature the night before. They were not sent. They were sent only to the planning department. So I didn't feel that it was being done in good faith. And, it was by Dan who originally brought this up. And you get to the point where I didn't feel like that we were working together and coming to a compromise. He was bringing up things that hadn't even been brought up before. So I am bringing it back to committee. So it is in committee, but I don't want to spend any more time on it this year. As far as I'm concerned, it can be on next year's agenda. Any other comments on this? Dan, do you want to say anything else on this?
No, I guess I don't. Thank you.
Okay. We'll move on to committee reports. Does anybody have any reports from their liaison committees or other things, other topics? Deborah?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody else saw this, but I saw an article, I think it was in Political or Forbes, about how, I mean, we all know that plastic recycling, the way it's going, is not a sustainable thing. So this article really kind of went into the fact, you know, the reasons that it's not sustainable, that when you recycle these plastics into other plastic products, they get progressively rated so that by the time you've recycled them 2 or 3 times, you can't really recycle them into anything useful. And so the conclusion of this article was that there are some companies that are trying to figure out how to process these plastics back into the original petroleum product, the gas or the oil that they started out as. Did anybody else see that? And oh my God, is this really a good idea?
Well, I sent something earlier today, but
Yeah, I saw that.
it was similar, but it wasn't quite that. But yeah, I mean, there's like chemists working on how to reduce. Well, yeah, everything you just said. I won't repeat it. Yeah.
Well, I think thank you for sending that article, Amanda. I read that, and yeah, I read these things, you know, these things pop up on my feed too, of just people trying to do whatever. And we just, you can come up with all these different concoctions, but we really just need to stop making stuff, you know, and even making it better, we need to just reduce. I mean, when you think about, you know, the amount of packaging, you know, even if you made it recyclable or returnable, do we need, you know, this amount of plastic when you get like one little item?
Yeah. Yeah, so I do think that you know, producer liability is a good step in the right direction. I don't know if it'll happen, but we can hope.
Well, I've talked to people in other countries, and they've said they first off, they start making the product. So they'll send, in the United States, they'll send us a certain iPhone, but another country will get a different iPhone where the parts are replaceable, where the parts are recyclable. So and that's been going on for years.
Oh.
That they'll send us the stuff that, yeah, it's just crazy. They actually will make better products, and they make them for other countries, but not for us yet because we don't require it.
Okay.
Anything else? Any other reports? Okay, I think that's it. Did I forget anything? Looks like we got everything as far as I can tell. All right. Can we have a motion to adjourn then? Deborah, seconded by Amanda. Do we need to vote on this? I always forget. How about just put your hands up if you're ready to adjourn? Okay. Thank you, everybody, for attending today and participating. And again, Brittany, thank you very much. I will send you the changes that I said I would.
Thanks, everybody.